Hello, attackers, and welcome to a brand new episode of Attack on Show. I'm your host, Rob E. We've got a fantastic episode lined up for you today. In studio, actress and producer Erika Hoveland is here, and she's going to fill us in on all of her upcoming projects. And then she sticks around, and we discuss the Netflix original series starring Paul Rudd, Living With Yourself on Extreme It. But before we get to all that fun, of course, we've got to kick things off with Movie Maniac Minute. First up, Netflix announced today that they have purchased the right to produce the upcoming Beverly Hills Cop 4. And they have confirmed Eddie Murphy is returning to play Axel Foley. So, after the success of Dolomite's My Name, it looks like Eddie Murphy and Netflix are going to continue their joint venture. Yesterday, in the 2-year anniversary of Justice League, Twitter was set ablaze with hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot, Zack Snyder, Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, and Batman himself, Ben Affleck, all contributed with hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. And in other Batman news, it looks like Andy Serkis is jumping ship from Marvel over to the DC Universe, and he will fulfill the role of Alfred. Also, Westworld's Jeffrey Wright has been announced to play Commissioner Gordon. Now, there's still one more rumored role yet to be filled, and that right now is being looked at as the Penguin, and they are talking to Colin Farrell. No commitment yet on either side. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I've got, and that's Movie Maniac Minute. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you click like and subscribe below, and stay tuned. We've got plenty more for you. This is Attack on Show. All right, so we are back on Attack on Show, and as promised, I have a very special guest in studio, Erika Hoveland, everybody. So maybe a big round of applause. Yes, this is awesome. We got to meet twice before this at the Eternal Code premiere and the Royal Star Film Festival.
Yes.
So we then bribed you to come on set. Yes, Love Immortal. So that was on my list actually to cover here.
Oh, okay.
You were in Love Immortal, and that was a fantastic film. That was directed by Robert Butler, and brief premise of it.
Yeah, it follows the life of like 3 different generations of vampires, or the same vampire from the beginning that goes through 3 different time periods.
Real vampires, not the sparkly Twilight.
Yeah, no, real gritty vampires.
Yes.
And I love that premise that when he talked to me about it originally, about doing 3 different chapters, he filmed this over a year.
Wow.
He actually, like, he didn't compact it into getting one film done like we know today. It was like a year and a bit.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize
that. It took him to,
And your character in the film?
Professor Patricia Williams.
Professor Patricia Williams.
Yes.
No, you did an amazing job in that movie, and watching the character, because she's fighting like a depression, basically, like a lonely depression she's going through.
Yeah.
And I've always looked at those dramatic roles as being the hardest to do, because I'm always smiling, and it's really hard to keep a straight face for me. So like when I see people be able to do that, I'm always amazed by it. Like, where do you draw that from? Is it?
Well, honestly, it begins with the writing.
Yeah.
You have to start with a strong script. And I feel like Love Immortal had that from the very start. So you can't really provide a great performance if the words aren't there on the page to start with. So I was lucky enough to have that. And then other than that, it's really, acting isn't acting, it's reacting. So when I'm in a scene with somebody, they give me as much energy. A lot of my scenes were done against Jordan Trevelyan.
Right.
Fabulous
Did a great
actress.
job too, yes.
I love her. She is fantastic. But our characters interacted a lot, and we were both in that zone of who are we and what's our future going to be. So being able to play off her was a gift.
Shifting from that to another dramatic role, I got to see a sneak peek. You worked with Harley Wallen on its Snapshot, and this is a short film, and another very emotional role for you.
Yeah.
The drama chops are amazing.
That one was definitely, you dig deep.
Yes.
For that one.
Yeah, and Snapshot, it's a short film, and this is basically, there's a group of people like in a waiting room, to see like a counselor, and it then separates from there to tell each person's story and how they got back there. And I'm excited for the release of that to come out, and we'll obviously keep everybody posted as to when it is, because that right now they're still working on it. It's still in production, correct?
It's in post, yeah.
Yes.
They're still working sound and editing and
still finishing it up.
Yeah.
And you work with Harley quite a bit.
Yes, that is three. With
Three
him.
movies.
2 features and that short.
Yes, Eternal Code, which is now streaming on Amazon. That was a great film. It was interesting to watch just because of the moral question of the film. Eternal Code is you play a CEO of a company, and it's basically they find the technology or the science to be able to transfer your brain, your conscious into a younger body to basically can you live forever?
Yeah.
And the whole movie is the moral compass. Is that the right thing to do? Is it not? And your character falls on the side of you don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah. My character is the CEO of the company that created the technology to be able to do this procedure. And originally it was done with the thought of helping people who were disabled or to have a body that they could then use again. But it never lasts like that. When humans get involved,
every good intention.
Who has money? People who have money, they can buy their way into a better body or whatever it is. And is that right? Then do you move ahead with that technology, knowing that it's going to go to the highest bidder?
Right.
Will it be used for good, or will it actually be marketed out on like the black market?
It's unfortunate, they didn't split the atom to make a bomb. So that's an interesting way. It's a good movie, so definitely check it out on Amazon. You can rent that, and then we will move on to the other film with Harley Hoveland. This is also in post-production right now. Ash and Bone.
Ash and Bone.
And what can you tell us about Ash and Bone? Because I'm kind of in the dark on this one. I've seen screenshots.
Yeah.
So
I had so much fun shooting this one. And this one is a character that I have never done before.
Oh, okay.
She's a hillbilly. She and her brother were kind of crazy. We'll put it that way. And then a family, we're known as this family in the woods. And then this other family from the city comes to get away for a little while on vacation. And one thing leads to another. And the McKinleys get a little upset. And when they get upset,
so is this like is it a horror film or suspense? It's a horror film.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
This is more horror than thriller.
Now, have you done horror films in the past?
Yes.
Yes. What is your favorite as far as the dramatic? Like, do you have a favorite? I know we always like to explore all roles, but everyone has a favorite kid. I mean, let's be real. So there's got to be something that you just go and have a little more fun with than the other.
Yeah, like I really do love digging into dramatic roles.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it fun. It's like at the end of the day, I feel like I've worked with my craft. But the truth is, I find comedy more difficult.
Yeah.
Because you like to really let loose and be comfortable doing a comedic role.
Yeah.
Your timing has to be perfect.
Very true, yes.
And it doesn't rely as much on, it relies on your performance more than your interaction with, like your timing with the person you're working across from needs to be bang on. Like
that's got to be very difficult. I didn't think of it in that way. So
yeah, I would love to do more comedy, just to polish, like to work on it more. But drama is typically where I go.
No, I understand that. No, and you do very good at it. So I love seeing those roles. I'm actually really excited to see Ash and Bone because this is going to be something. Is that the new profile picture on Facebook with the gun? Awesome. Yeah. It looks very cool. So excited for that. And then we also wanted to touch on one more film that you had in production, which is Intrusion.
And Intrusion is going into
or you're
production.
We're
starting to shoot the first 2 weeks of December.
Okay.
So it's in pre-production right now.
Now, anything you can give away as far as Intrusion? What it's about?
Yeah, it's a thriller. It's another very strong script. It's with a director I've never worked with before, Nick Holland.
Nick Holland?
Yeah.
No relation.
No.
Maybe. I'm going to have to look him up. Maybe he wants to direct a show. No.
And it's going to have a great cast. I'm really excited about that. But it's an intrusion. So I'm the wife. There's a husband, wife, and a teenage daughter. And their house starts getting broken into, and it's revealed that he may not be as faithful, and so is that why it's happening? Is it not? Is it this? It's a drama and one of those,
So is it are they telling like a nonlinear timeline where it's going to kind of jump back and tell like a backstory and then jump?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun in the editing room. That's just No, that would be interesting. So all things might not be as they seem when watching this movie. It sounds
right. Like what really happened in the past, and
that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Now, was this, you say it's a director you haven't worked with before, so was this like cold audition sent in?
Yep.
Yeah. So how do you, as far as handling like the audition process, like the more I'm doing the show and the more I'm talking to people, it seems tricky. That seems like a tricky process for me because you're just kind of talking to nobody when you send in if you send in footage or if you're in front of somebody, not really talking to you. Like you say, it's about the reaction.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that when you're doing the auditions?
It's just, it's part of the job. I hate auditioning. That's not true. I mean, there's certain auditions. I love stage auditions because again, it's right in the moment and you're feeding off of the person you're with. Film auditions are a little different. I make sure that I have a reader that I trust. I try the best, because then you still interact with somebody. Right. I have a few actor friends that we constantly are phoning each other up and saying, "Hey, do you have a minute to tape an audition for me?" And we, give it back and forth. But yeah, it's like taking a little segment without knowing anything else, and you have to make it true. You have to portray that
off of one page and try and figure out what else has gone on to lead to that point.
And sometimes it's 3 lines, and you have to make it different, sell it somehow.
Another thing we were going to touch on here is you and your husband have a production company as well.
Yeah.
And the name of that it's Lynmar Productions?
Yeah.
And you guys are producing, you have a few projects currently in the pipeline
that
are in production right now.
Yeah.
Any that you want to fill the attackers in on?
Well, we're at AFM right now at the market with a film called The War's Ended. It's absolutely a beautiful story. I've never thought of it until I read the script where all war stories seem to be about the war.
Right.
But what happens at the end of the war when people just show up and say, okay, you're free to go home, but you've lost everything. You've lost your family, money, clothing, health, everything's gone.
The aftermath, yeah.
How do you pick up and move on? What's the hope? And this story is about this man who is a master puppeteer, and he has his puppet show, and he goes on tour with it with his horse. But when all the people are now moving down the tracks because they're free, because the war's over, he's moving up the tracks, and he's at every train station he's doing his puppet show for the kids because there's so many orphan kids.
Okay.
But you find out that he's not doing it just to entertain them. He had to throw his 2 sons from the train at the beginning of the war to make them to save their lives, to get them off.
So
he's trying to find his sons.
Wow, that's an inspirational story. It's like kind of like draws me like a Life is Beautiful tone where it's something so dramatic and dark and trying to bring some light into the situation. And you're right, you don't see much, it's always I don't want to say happy ending, but the war is over and whoever has won and then the movie ends. And I think that's a great story to tell is the aftermath. There's a lot of stuff still going on afterwards that people have to deal with. And I'm
decades.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
So this is pre-production right now.
Yeah, it's being pre-sold at AFM at this point in time. It actually got listed as one of AFM's hottest titles.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one's one of them, and then we have a couple other really exciting things going on. One is a great story too called The Firecrackers, and it's a true story it's kind of like Bad News Bears meets Blindside.
Oh, okay.
Where this teacher who was an English teacher got moved to this kind of small town school, but the only job they had was phys ed teacher.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of kids, high school kids that are getting in trouble, fighting, doing this
different, News Bears part?
Are you on the west side of the tracks or the east side of the tracks?
Okay.
And they get in trouble, so their punishment is that after school they have to skip rope. They have a skip rope, jump rope team, and so they have to learn how to skip rope. And they end up, of course, like Blindside, you think that and it's a true story.
Really?
If you look up Firecrackers, they've done routines at the White House. They've been on David Letterman. They've been on. So this woman used this punishment to create the bonds between these kids, these girl students, and they've blown everyone away.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, I've not heard of that, so I'll have to look it up. We'll have a link below. I'll find some information and link it below, so that way people can get the true story behind it, and then come see how the film looks when you guys get that out there. This is awesome. I'm glad that you came on set, but there's something very important that we need to get to in the next segment, and I know you've been waiting for this. This is the 5 questions.
Oh no!
To see if you achieve attacker status.
Okay.
So these are very tricky.
Okay.
So we're gonna see if we get attacker status. So I know you're really nervous about this.
Do I get to keep the glass if I get it?
If you win, yes. There's a lot of line, and that is our very first Attack on Show wine glass. So there's a lot on the line here. You're gonna get the inaugural wine glass. So all right, we're gonna start with number 1 here. Let me get the right card.
Oh no, I'm so nervous.
Who were better partners? Mulder or Scully, and you can't answer yet because I know you're an X-Files fan, or Crockett and Tubbs?
Oh, good. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta go Mulder.
Mulder and Scully. Okay, I'll give it that one.
Okay.
I'm a big '80s fan, but Mulder and Scully was pretty good. You're a big X-Files fan.
I am.
Yes, that was a good show.
It was.
Are they out there? Do you think they're out there?
I do.
Oh, that'd be a whole nother conversation.
I do.
All right, so we're getting me that one. So we're 1 for 1.
Okay.
Number 2. What vampire would win in a fight?
Oh no.
You have Edward from Twilight.
Yeah.
Or Lottie, which was the little boy in The Lost Boys.
Lottie.
Lottie, yes.
For sure.
You win that one. Perfect. All right. We're still on now, 2 for 2. This one here, this is what we always ask. There's an original and a remake. And then you pick which movie you think was better, the original or the remake. So in this case, the original is Land Before Time. And the remake is The Road, which is that Viggo Mortensen
oh no.
similar style. The mom goes away and they have to find a better place to live, right? It's the same.
The same movie. Land Before Time.
Land Before Time. You win. George Lucas attached.
Yes.
So that is it. I love Land Before Time.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
classic.
a good movie.
Everyone grew up on it. Littlefoot, right? Number 4. Which movie is a better musical? There's The Greatest Showman or Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Okay, I'm not sure which one you would answer on this. I don't know, but I loved The Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman, yes, you win that. Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong?
It's you.
The guy was fantastic in that. Have you gone to the tour?
Mm-mm.
No, I heard The Greatest Showman Live's
really?
quite a good show. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So number 5, this one's a really tough one for you. We talked about this prior to the show. Not the question, but she's going to laugh at this one. Which was the better X-Files spinoff? Millennium or The Lone Gunman?
The Lone Gunman.
The Lone Gunman, yes. And why is
sure.
that? Is there a little story with The Lone Gunman for you?
No, I met one of them.
Yeah?
I don't think he knows I know that I met him, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that you had met one prior to the show, and I said, in my head, I was like, that's part of the question, so I already knew the answer before I asked you. But you win. That's 5 for 5. You get the inaugural Attack on Show wine glass at the end of the show, but we're not going to let you leave just yet. We're going to keep you around. We're going to do the Extreme-It segment.
Send me an angel right now.
This is Extreme-It. It's been a while since I got to cover Extreme-It. This is the ageless Paul Rudd show on Netflix, Living with Yourself, that we're going to discuss here today. And if you haven't seen it yet, the premise of the show is he's basically stressed out, burnt out on life, Paul Rudd, and he gets told by a friend that he needs to go to like a spa, and he just felt like a new human being afterwards. So Paul Rudd goes there, and there's a great cameo. We can't spoil the cameo when he first shows up at the spa. But, and this isn't giving too much away, but basically when he goes to the spa, he comes out refreshed, and everything's great, but then you find out it's actually a clone. That Paul Rudd has been cloned, and he survived the process. Usually they off the old clone and he survived. So now it's these two having to live together.
Well, they made a mistake.
Yes,
in
it
his
was a
clone,
mistake.
and that's why they both survived.
Yes.
Well, what were you planning on doing with the original me? The me?
In a better society, we wouldn't have to do it this way.
What way? Ideally, we grind and dissolve in acid solution, but we had maintenance problems.
And that's how it starts. So you're not giving
Right.
anything right at the beginning. He's crawling out of his grave. And,
Which,
but
without giving too much away, I have to say that was actually one of my first negatives on the show. I love the show, and I don't want to talk it down. I will say you're going to watch the show, but I wish they had told at that part of the storyline him waking up and just being happy going home, and let that story play out, and then have the angry one come in and say,
After.
"What's going on? Like, why is that?" But I appreciate the way they told it, and I
Yeah.
understand. But that was one of my first times. But yes, you're right. You know, he was buried but not dead,
yeah,
and comes home to find out his clone is at home with his wife, and
that he is a clone. Like he didn't even know. Like he thought he was just feeling better.
Yes.
Because the memories of his memories are transplanted. It's the person who wakes up in the spa believes they are the person that walked into the spa. Because they've killed off the other people, but everything's the same, other
Right.
than they're happier.
right, because the original was always killed off, so the
Yeah.
clone can just live the life.
Can you imagine
going
walking
forward.
into your house and seeing yourself? Like,
It was, yeah, and it's creepy because
then-
they say the creator of it, it was a nightmare of his that he created a show based on. Whenever he heard the doorbell ring as a child, he was always nervous that the dad would go to the door and open it and find a better him at the door.
really?
So that's kind of what, when that's why he
Oh.
formulated the show off of that he grew up always having this nightmare, which is, but it's like a dark comedic twist on this series. I mean, Paul Rudd is amazing. And
phenomenal.
you were talking earlier about this just being a role that,
Well, I mean, talk about difficult, because he's playing two different roles. Like it's like you shoot the same show twice.
yes.
He has to in a week shoot, because you have to do both sides of it. And I don't get some of the way, like some of the shots, how they did this.
Yeah, because it's not just the mirroring, it's not
They're-
split like it used to be. I mean, they interact. They spin
interact.
around the camera together,
Yeah.
and it's beautifully done.
And sometimes they say their lines at the same time in the same way, because it's the same person responding to the same question. But he had to do it dressed in a different outfit, and so his
Yes.
timing had to be perfect with how he delivered it the first time.
Right. I always wonder on the behind the scenes when I watch scenes like that, is it, do you record the scene and then do you because now with technology you can play it back, so you almost wonder, like, is it being played back off camera where you can interact that way to make it easier, and then you redo the audio later. I wonder, because I imagine it's got to help with the production to be able to do that, because you're right that the timing's got to be perfect.
Right, but they fight with each other. Like they're tumbling and fighting and punching and doing all that, so like
Yeah.
quite frequently.
It's
so.
amazing the way the series is shot, and it's the series. They're only 25-minute episodes. It's only 8 episodes long, so it is a quick watch, and it's an easy watch because it's such a lighthearted twist on kind of a dark story.
Well, and that's what like first couple of episodes, I'm like, oh, this is a comedy. This is going to be fun, but it starts getting more twisted.
Yes.
And it starts, when they realize that the clone realizes that he's a clone. He's not really. So what is he like? Who is his?
Yeah,
what is his world?
It's emotional without diving. I found myself it's really emotional without being over dramatic in a way, because the way it works is, the one who they were supposed to kill and the clone is like everything's perfect for him. He's good at everything. He's smart. He's great at work. He's the perfect husband. They changed the genetics a little bit to make them a better person, and you find he's better than everything than the original. So you feel bad for the original because this guy's, kind of taking over things and better than him. But then when the original's kind of kicking him out or pushing him aside, you really feel for him because he still has these memories. You start thinking he
Right.
still thinks he's a person, and you can't just dismiss him as a thing.
Yeah.
Because when he has to leave his wife, so the original goes to bed with her, like goes to sleep with her, he still thinks it's his wife. And it's sad when you watch, and Paul Rudd is fantastic in this role. I can't imagine he's not going to get an award for this, because he plays the two characters where you think you're watching two different people. And it's kind of the Anthony Hopkins, as you're saying, in his eyes, you feel for him in some of these scenes where he's supposed to be upbeat and happy, and then
he does create a different character. Like, it's not him in different wardrobe. He physically has a different character for both the real and the clone.
Right. The
that are
way
very
he
different.
stands, the way he walks, the hair is different. And again, I'll be really petty here about this, and you guys can give me a hard time for it. But I had a hard time with the hair part. when he's like the good one, his hair's parted and combed to the left. When he's sad, it's more combed to the right, and it's like, I get his hair's down, but if you were gonna comb it up, like it would still comb the same side. But anyway, that's just me being petty. No. But it's little details. But the show's so good that you kind of find yourself looking at those little things. And there are a lot of storylines that, without too many spoilers, that they open in the first season. I'm really excited for season 2.
You said it started 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it just was released. Just for the last couple of weeks it came out, and there has to be a season 2. I mean, the show's is highly regarded on Netflix right now, and Netflix is a marketing machine, so I imagine it coming back. But they did open quite a few storylines in just those 8 episodes that I'm really interested to get to season 2 to see how they start kind of wrapping these up.
With the bombshell in the final episode too.
The final episode, yes. We can't do spoilers on the show, but it does leave you hanging in a place where I don't know where they're going to take the show next, but I'm super excited for it, just to see more of the characters. The supporting cast is great on it. His wife to interact with Paul Rudd, but to have the 2 characters. And it's interesting watching her character dynamic, because the clone is more the old happy version she fell in love with compared to the one that's around now, but she knows he's a clone, and it's a mind game for her to get through the series.
Well, and what do you fall in love with? Do you fall in love with the core of the soul of the person, or the happy, successful person?
Right.
But
even the clone has that core. That's the tricky part.
Well, yeah. I don't know. See, that gets back to the whole almost eternal code of recreating yourself and living the fountain of youth. You can have twins. You can reproduce, clone yourself, but I believe that there's always something that's you, and that what's your twin. Like, you're different in some way.
No, I agree. There is a difference in that.
And she fell in love with that guy.
Right.
Originally.
Which, without giving too much away, is a struggle she goes through in the series. Yeah. And it learns her own way, I will say, about going through. And it's a very interesting dynamic, and it does make you question how you would think of those situations and what you would do with it. I mean, it is a roller coaster, because you do find yourself laughing quite a bit. Yeah. There is some good mystery involved with it, where you're still trying to figure out what's going on. My only other critique of the series is I do appreciate a nonlinear storyline, but I felt the show overdid it a little bit, where I wanted to see give me 5 more minutes of the linear story, and it does jump back quite a bit. Like, every episode starts at a place and then jumps back and builds up to that. So you don't move too far in the storyline each episode, whereas I wanted it to get moving after a couple episodes of, like, I just want to see what's going on. Like, I don't need to know how they got here. It's a good story what they tell, and I appreciated it, and I liked it. I liked getting to that point, but it's such a good storyline that I'm like, just go forward. Tell me what happens next. I want to get to that instead of a backstory. But the backstory is worth watching, and it's good. Yeah. But they do that every episode, so don't get frustrated if you see that. If you're like me, it is still worth watching every single episode, and it's a quick watch. I mean, it's well worth the time, and I highly recommend to definitely stream Living With Yourself with Paul Rudd. And what do you think, Erika?
Absolutely.
Attackers should watch it?
Absolutely.
So make sure you leave comments below. Tell me if I'm wrong on my critiques of it, if you think I'm just being picky, or if you agree with me. Someone's bound to. Mom watches the show, so I'm sure she'll agree.
Mom.
Moms have to.
Come on.
No, Erika, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been such a pleasure having you on here. I'm excited for the future, these upcoming projects. Like I said, Snapshot's amazing. I can't wait to see that circulate, and we will continue to keep you guys posted on that. Thank you for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. And all you watching the show, please make sure you click like and subscribe below, because we're going to keep you guys updated on all the projects that Erika's been working on and when they come release. So you're going to want to find out, right? You don't want to be left in the dark, and we'll help with the Facebook marketing. So you're going to want to subscribe. So everyone, thank you for watching. As always, I'm Robbie. We have Erika Hoveland in the studio. This is Attack on Show.